Hey friends, it's CRMA. Hey, recently we did a call where I talked a little bit about a forecasting tool that we had at People Centric. I've had a few people reach out to me and ask me a little bit more about it, and so I figured maybe more people were interested. I know you're fighting a lot of battles right now, still in triage mode and trying to figure things out, so I thought I'd give you the resource here a little bit quickly through a video. So I'm going to share the document with everybody, but I want to go over a little bit with you. So let me share this, what this looks like. Share. So this is our contingency planning tool. There's a lot of information on here that walks you through it, but I'm going to skip to the end because there's an example on it. I think it's easier to see the big picture. So here's the idea. This is an example contingency plan. Essentially what this does is it helps you to analyze your contingencies based on different business functions. And we break up the business functions into 4 different areas: your financial functions, your marketplace functions, your operations, and your people. Now, financial are the obvious. It's the expenses, right? Budget, profit, those types of things. That's a lot of times what we tend to think about in terms of contingency planning. But there's these other critical functions too. The marketplace. What's going to happen in the marketplace? What do we need to do to control that? Operations, just operationally, how are we going to keep things running? How are we going to make our product? What are some of the challenges that could be involved here? And then the last thing is the people. How do we work around the people and make sure that our people are taken care of and we manage risk there? So I'm going to keep going through these different these columns here. So identified risks. You start off by listing the financial and you think, what are the identified risks? So in this situation, I put decreased revenue and impaired cash flow. And then you work your way here to the right for each of these and you say, what's risk mitigation? Now, risk mitigation is how could we eliminate this risk altogether? Are there things that we could do to make this where it's not an issue? Right, so that's things you could do ahead of time, like opening up a line of credit or taking advantage of some of the government's relief packages. It's things like that. This next column here is the action plan or the initial response. That would be the things that you would put into place when whatever happens. So we need to be doing these cost control measures. It's just a list of stuff that you're going to do initially. It's what your initial response is going to be. And then this next column is the one I was really talking about in terms of forecasting. Sometimes it's really hard. I mean, right now, hey, if you can forecast what you think what's going to happen and you're accurate with it, more power to you. Please share that with everybody, because right now I think everyone's struggling with what the heck does this thing look like. But one of the ways to do that without being able to forecast accurately is to set some milestones for yourself. So for example, in here I put, like, what happens if revenue drops 20%? What happens if it drops 35%? What happens if it drops 50%? You could set those milestones, and then you could look at it and say, if I hit this, these are the things I would put into place. If I get this far, these are the things I would put into place. And by doing it all at once, it just helps you to take a little bit of the emotion out of it. It helps you to be a little bit proactive in terms of what you think of what you're heading towards. So it's a way that it doesn't matter whether your forecast is accurate at that point then. It just matters that you're tracking where progress is at. It allows you to think about different scenarios. You can do that across these different business critical functions too. So for operations, like if your gross margin fell to less than 25%, here's some things you might consider: price increases or things like that. Those are just rough examples. Then the last column in here is the owner. One of the things that's really important, I think, as you put these plans into place is that you communicate what the plan is. Now, I get it. There's some things you're going to want to share with the general employees, and there's things that you're not going to want to share. I'm going to encourage you to share a little bit more than maybe you think you should. And here's why. Right now, your people are making up stories. They're talking to each other about what the situation is. They're hearing about layoffs in other magazines. They're hearing about magazines even closing. The stories that they have in their mind are terrifying, right? Sometimes it's best just to lay it out and say, look, we're here, and we're going to try to stay above here, and here's all the things we're going to put into place, and here's where you can help us with this. If we drop below here, then we're going to have to do some things. We're going to have to make some cuts. So, hey, let's all fight together. None of us want to drop below this line. So what can we all do to put our parts in? I really shared this with our team last week, and we went over this process. And they've done some amazing things in terms of really making sure we're controlling costs. We're doing the right things in terms of our customers. And it's really helped to put us in one of our better case scenarios from what we thought that might happen. So that's our planning tool. Look, I'm going to share this with everybody. If anybody has any questions, please give me a call. We're just here to help and support you right now. Appreciate everything. We appreciate the CRMA community, and everybody stay safe out there. Thank you so much.